Hi. So, since this is still Chinese New Year times 2018, and I went out for dinner with a lot of friends, and actually, a few of them asking me that with my uh, involved in researching in Chinese martial art, Buddhism for past 4 decades, what is something which is uh, good to know so that people can avoid problem. And I share this with many friends so that they will be able to avoid issue. And today I like to share with you because I think this is something which is very important. Okay, it can save us from a lot of trouble. Uh, there are two things actually we need to watch out when we deal with the Chinese culture. Okay, there are two things. And actually, uh, it is not only Chinese culture which is I lately found out. It seems that Asia culture, like for example, even in yoga, India yoga, you have a same issue. Okay. So two things which is extremely critical that we need to put in our mind and to investigate it seriously, extremely seriously, because in violations of these two issues, uh, culture can get wiped out. Okay, and these two issues is like a lock. They can lock. They work to lock oneself, and then once it is locked, then it is over. Okay, you can predict the entire thing is going to get wiped out. Okay, so the first thing which we need to be careful is making simple physical reality mystical. Okay, yes, making simple physical reality mystical. And thus, we do not know how to handle the simple physical reality. This is a kiss of death in one way. Okay, you can see in Chinese martial arts. Okay, for example, that instead of people study and understanding simple physical reality, such as impulse momentum theorem, as why I map the thing in my books, the Wing Chun Matrix. People run into all kinds of magic stuff like Qi, okay, magic Jing. Seriously, 99.999% of what is this Qi and Jing stuff, it is just simple physical reality which can be explained with impulse momentum theorem. Like for example, you say in Wing Chun, you say, well, this magic Tan Sao, okay, the Tan Sao and so forth. Well, if you look at it in the impulse momentum theorem, there is just the handling of the durations of collisions, so that you be able to to attenuate the impact force by mechanics. Okay, and of course, it is that we need to differentiate the difference between the mechanical advantage and impulse momentum theorem, because they are mechanical advantage is talking about mechanics advantage, And impulse momentum theorem talk about dynamics, something with speed, with time, with velocity, okay? And while you're talking about the mechanical, is just mechanical, okay? Like the lever advantages and so forth, okay? So this is all simple physical reality, and of course that we need to know that, like for example, a lever system, which you have the mechanical advantage, that doesn't cover the impulse momentum theorem, because you look at the lever, you say that if a lever, like this part of the, say this is a lever, this is the pivot point, and then this two part, this side is a shorter, this is a longer, so that I can use less force here to lift something. Well, that is just plain lever mechanics. This doesn't say anything about speed, momentum, those stuff, right? So that's why you need the impulse momentum theorem. Okay, we cannot make mysterious, make this a simple impulse momentum thing is completely mysterious, like you have the special way of using force or strength and so forth. Okay, so this is important to know. Don't make simple physical reality mysterious and lost within the mysterious, and thus it end up one have no idea what is the physical reality. That's important, really critical. The second thing is do not assume anything which is one never experienced. Yes, do not assume what one have never experienced. In Chinese martial arts, in Qigong and all kind of stuff, you often can see, okay, and can hear, and you will face this stuff like different people will say, oh, this is my interpretation, your interpretations. Well, is it true that there's an interpretations? The fact is, this is actually everyone's assumption, not interpretations. Assumption on things which they don't know. That's why you can have 10 people talk about 10 different type of interpretations, because they're based on the assumption. They do not know what it is. They don't have the experience, and that's why they come up with all those type of assumption, which is called interpretation, but actually it's not interpretation, it is assumption. For example, if I assume that there's a soul, and I can assume also there's no soul, well, both are assumption. Well, this both assumption, it got nothing to do with reality. It's just because I assume that there's a soul, then I have all this philosophy, theory, and everything. Same thing if I assume that there's no soul, okay? So that it just continues speculate from that, this assumption. When one get into this assumption stuff, one actually get into hallucinations, because the mind is running off with the imaginations, get lost touch of reality. Okay, that's why this is really a kiss of death. For example, it is like go watching movie. Okay, you sit in the cinema watching movie, watching Chinese martial art movie. Okay, where people can have this special chi, fly, and fight in a really magical way. Okay. Well, it is based on some kinds of assumption and some kinds of imaginations. It got nothing to do with reality. Okay? So, unless one experience with it, one really not supposed to go assume this, assume that, and come up with all kinds of interpretations, or my way, your way, my style, your style, my lineage, your lineage. You look at, say, for example, in Tai Chi. In past few decades, they come with many different lineages. Same with Wing Chun, many lineages. Why you look at it? Is that based on experience or based on assumption? So that's why when I study Chinese martial art, I like to dig out from general Qigong 500 years ago, and all those things in the history where you can dig it out and you look at it, you align them up with multiple data point. You look at the common denominator, you can know what is the reality there. Like, for example, short strike. Short strike meaning that one has to shoot in, get close. The CG, center of gravity, has to go forward. Like when people running, you always put your CG in front, you go shoot in, get close. But then if you say that, oh yeah, my interpretation is that my center of gravity you need to put behind, okay, backward. Well, then in historically by technical data, that cannot be a short strike art, because for 500 years, short strike art needs to have the train and to operate with the center of gravity at front of the person. In front of the person is like when you rush, when you want to dash forward, you have that center of gravity. Okay, so you violating that, and then you can have all the interpretation at that point with all those data points from the past history, technical data points, so forth. We know this is an assumption by somebody. Okay. So short strike art is like that. Okay. So there are many things which can verify based on a realistic data point. Okay. To know, is this a type of assumption, or it is based on facts, data point. And people who do not have the experience, like for example, if you train in the 100-meter dash running, the 100-meter, you know that when you run, your center of gravity has to put in front. Otherwise, you cannot go shoot out, dash out, right? That's experience. Now, the guy who never run that fast, never shoot, dash that fast, can, based on their assumption, putting the center of gravity behind, say, well, I want to run this way. So you look at that, people with the experience and with the realistic data point, look at it scientifically, right away know that this is assumption. This is not what it is. Okay? So this is the second thing. So the first thing is, don't make the simple physical reality mysterious. And second, do not assume things which is one do not have experience, and go off with the imaginations, okay, or living in the hallucinations, okay, like you go sit in the movie, after 5 minutes in the movie, then people start living in that world in the movie. Is that real in the movie world? Well, it's for the people who sit in the cinema will feel like it is real, but it is really real. Of course, the guy who sits in the cinema is going to argue with you if you say, well, this is not real, while he's in the cinema. Okay. Now, when these two things lock together, then you got a big problem. Okay, so if you assume, okay, something which is you have no experience, and then you make the simple physical reality mysterious, because in the first place you don't know that it is a simple physical reality. You already make it mysterious, and then you assume that is proper, okay, that's reality, and then you say, well, this is my interpretations of my martial and so forth. Now you trap. You lock yourself and you trap. If you watch out for the Chinese martial art history, General Qigong at 500 years ago, when he wrote that the fifth canon of the General Qigong, he actually bring things back to the physical reality, not assume physical reality, and based on experience. That's why he can fought the Japanese pirate and defeat them and clean them out. Okay? Now, 120 years ago, okay, for this year, because the Chinese always, they have their calendar, every 60 years, repeat itself. This year is exactly 120 years ago. So there are a group of people who want to reform, which is named as the 100 Days Reform. Tell the emperors, hey, the West already very is progressed, modernized. The Japanese actually success in the westernized at the time, and then progress. China need to do that too. Okay, not start still living within their assumptions and making simple physical mysterious. And okay, it's called 100-day reform. Is that it is only 100 days. The emperor, have the people help from that, and then the emperors come take over. Okay, stop that reform, and the guy who support that reform all get killed, and those who didn't get killed flee to Japan and so forth, and that end up they flee outside, okay, to Japan, to United States and so forth, and that's what happened at that time. Okay, that's the end of the Qing dynasty, and then a few years later of that is where they wage war with the Western army. Okay, the European armies, the Japanese, the American, and end up that this the armies of the 8 countries march into Beijing, because the Qing dynasty, Qing military is completely collapsed. Okay, well, because they believe in what? Their Qigong, their Chinese martial art can anti-bullets. Well, again, you look at that. That is making simple physical reality mysterious. Well, you say, well, Qigong can anti-bullets. Well, you can just test it. Now, even for the arrow, the arrow, bow and arrow, do you think that human's body can anti that arrow, shooting by the arrow? Well, even the common Chinese at that 1897 era do not know about impulse momentum theorem and Newtonian physics, but many do know, because Newton is precede that. Newtonian classic physics is precede that, right? So, and then without the experience to fighting with the guns, then make assumption with this special Qigong or Chinese internal martial art or whatever can defeat the the military, the Western military and so forth. Well, you know what you end up there? The Boxer Librarian, 150,000 life there. Okay, and Chinese lost big time, the money and so forth. So, same trap, 120 years ago. Okay? Now, last year, 2017, when the Chinese MMA player in Beijing KO that Tai Chi player, that is exactly the same thing again. Okay? Same with whatever happened 120 years ago. That's why when the MMA guys say that, hey, you guys Chinese martial art, like this MMA player in Taiwan, who say in the news, okay, you can see in the news in the YouTube that you guys Chinese martial art is completely not scientific at all. That's what it means. You ignore, you just make the simple physical reality mysterious, and then you make all kinds of assumptions where whatever you don't experience and handle the impulse momentum, and then it interlock itself. That's what it end up, and that's why people today, many of my friends still told me this. They say, well, you know, Chinese martial art is for fighting, street fighting. No, it's not MMA. MMA is a sport. Well, if you look at the history, 500 years ago, General Qigong successfully brought the Chinese martial art out of the mysterious stuff, out of the assumption, and get the real experience. 120 years ago, the reform failed. So Qing dynasty going down with it. Okay, with the Boxer Rebellion and so forth. And then now, 2017, after that KO of the Tai Chi player, well, what the traditional Chinese martial art faced is exactly the same thing. What General Qigong faced, but he cleaned it up. What 120 years ago the emperor who want to reform faced, but he failed because the emperors, due to their benefit and so forth, their power and politics and so forth, the reform got aborted. It's exactly the same thing. So these two things, if this is interlocked, you can see from past 500 years and you can predict the future. If it's not changed, it's going to go down. Okay? So these two things is critical. And also, in Qigong, same stuff. In meditation, same stuff. People talk about meditation, right? If your body, you know, that's why I make the 6-13-3 the body. If the body layer, the body element, become a hindrance, so meaning that the simple physical reality become a hindrance, and one make mysterious about it, like about qi. I sit a long time and then I get qi and those kind of stuff. You're gonna get stuck in the same thing again. Okay, so today in meditations, be it Buddhisms and all this, a lot of things is a mess, locking into this. One example I can share with you this. You go to YouTube, you look at all this, what we call vipassana. Is that the way how Buddha teach? Oh, I want to go study vipassana. Every young guy say, well, I want to do 10 days vipassana. You know what? You're out of your mind. Because the Buddha is actually teaching this. He said, one need first to do samatha. Samatha meaning calm down. Vipassana means insight. So analogy is like a samatha is like a if you have like a pond, the water of the pond, you let the water calm down. The more it calm down, the more clear it is. So whatever, in the sky, everything will reflect really clearly in the surface of the pond. Okay, so like in Surangama, it talk about the same thing. Surangama Sutta, it talk about the same thing. It say, well, like you have a muddy water in the bucket. If you let the muddy water calm down, it rests, and then the mud fall down, and then this water become really clear, right? So let the mud sink down, or the pond calm down. That is the samatha, the calmness training. And then the insight come after that. Okay, so how good is the insight? How clear is the insight? Is actually come after the attainment of the calmness, depend on the calmness. Now, if people never train this thing, never experience this thing, never get trained by teachers who know this, experience it, and make assumption, you're dead. You're not going to develop anything. Okay? So same thing in Buddhism, same thing in the Qigong and so forth, all the same. And the other day I just heard about a senior yogic told me. He said in yoga, people keeping changing stuff now. People who have no idea what it is, keeping changing stuff. Well, that is making assumption on what one do not have experience, and end up making simple physical reality magical, and the entire thing spiral downward. Okay? Well, when people go inside that, creating their own lineage, be it in yoga, Tai Chi, Wing Chun, those type of act is actually very irresponsible, because they themselves don't know what it is. So this senior yogic who I met, we are in a restaurant, and then we talk. When he told me that, I said, oh my God, this is the same screw up, okay? And he said, well, these type of people are very irresponsible because there is consequence, okay? Like for example, in my book, the Basic Wing Chun Art and Science, and I'm talking about the yin and yang channels of the body, how it naturally flow. If you violate that, you get into trouble. Same with yoga, okay? Which is now I heard from this senior yogic and said, oh my God. And he told me this is very irresponsible because this is people's life, okay? So this is what I'd like to share with you. Just have a chat. Don't have to believe me. Go check out what I'm saying. Is that true or not? If it's true, don't follow this. Don't get trapped in by this too, making simple physical reality mysterious. Don't get trapped into making assumption on whatever you don't have experience. Okay? And I can assure you, because I met many Zen patriarchs, like my late Sifu, Venerable Shenhua. And also, I met many CEO and founders in Silicon Valley. All these people have one common denominator, common point or likeness. If you if you tell them stuff based on assumption, they can see through it. If you make some simple physical stuff mysterious, they can see through it. Okay, you just go talk to any technical CEO, okay, or founder in Silicon Valley. They can screen you out right away. So the CEOs, the successful one, the guy who know technical and so forth, and the Zen patriarch, they all share the same quality. Even yoga yogic, like this senior yogic, which I respect him a lot. Even I don't know him before I met him. I respect him a lot because they have this quality. Okay? So if we don't have this quality, we better learn. Otherwise, you know it, I know it. It's not going to help us in our life, in the job we do, in our occupations, in the art we learn. Okay? So this is what I like to share with you today. Not just a chat, you know. And so hopefully you guys can benefit from this. And again, don't trust me. Find it out.